Today's episode of Quick Tip Tuesday is all about toilets. They are follow-up questions that you guys have submitted on my various episodes on how to pick the right toilet. So let's dive into it right now. Welcome back, Remodelites. My name is Dave with Remodel Media, and for the last 16 years, I've been helping people put together kitchens, baths, outdoor kitchens, and various other home renovation projects. My mission in life is to eliminate regret, and I do that by bringing you the latest tips, tricks, and products for your home remodel. So if you're new here, consider subscribing, and make sure you ring the bell for notifications so you never miss an episode. The first comment comes from Richard Ordonez, and it is on my episode, How to Pick the Best Toto Toilet. And Richard Ordonez says, 1 gallon per flush won't carry the poo and paper away from your house, and it will get stranded, creating a clogged drain. We're lucky if 1.6 gallon per flush can. And Richard, I'm going to direct you to my previous episode, my very first episode, about how to pick the best toilet. Not specifically Toto, because it's important for you to understand exactly how the flushing system on various models of toilet work. Different toilets work differently, and there are some key elements that you need to be aware of. Things like certain brands, certain models will have a larger trap. They'll have a larger flush valve, so that same amount of water will go through with more force in different toilets. Secondly, it also depends on the type of structure we're talking about, the type of building we're talking about. I have seen high-rises that have put in 1.0 gallon toilets, but those old buildings were made for 3.5 gallon flush toilets, and they didn't upgrade the drainage system at all. So you had these cast iron drains that were used to 3.5 gallon flushes, and all of a sudden, you put in these low-flow 1.0 gallon toilets, and yes, that does happen. So you are partially correct. There is a lot of planning, especially in a building with many toilets. However, in your standard house, it is, well, let me put it this way. In 16 years, it's never been an issue. Not once. I've never heard of it being an issue. Never heard of any of my coworkers or my other professional contacts having an issue. And I have dealt with tens of thousands of people when it comes to bathroom remodels, whether it be other contractors and homeowners and things like that. So you are partially correct, but it's a little misleading to say all low-flow toilets are going to cause this problem. There's a specific set of circumstances that need to occur for this problem to occur. So I'm going to give this a yes and a no. On that same episode, Brill Building says, our grandkids were frequently clogging our toilets with too much paper. I purchased 2 Toto toilets, Drake model, to replace the original toilets, and lo and behold, no more clogging. We love the Toto brand. I do too. I've had great experience with Toto. I've literally never had a problem. I can't remember the last time I had a problem with a Toto toilet. No. I have you had a problem with a Toto toilet? Let me know in the comments below. I'm perplexed. I can't remember the last time any customer, anybody I know has had a problem with a Toto toilet. I can't recall. On that same episode, you guys seem to like it. Maurice Clemens says, Toto is too damn expensive. You know, Maurice, there was a time that I actually agreed with you. When I first started in this business and I was looking at the cost of everything, not necessarily the value, but the cost, I said, wow, Toto is so much more expensive than all these other brands. And so when my mom came to me for a toilet, I said, Mom, I'm going to get you the best bang for your buck. And so I said, hey, here's a generic store brand toilet that has all the same specs as a Toto. It does everything a Toto does, or so the spec sheet said. When I tell you I had nothing but problems with that toilet, my dad and I, between the two of us, I think we rebuilt that toilet probably 3 times in 2 years, replacing all the components and things like that. And it flushed okay, but it was just a pain. And then at some point we just couldn't get parts anymore. And so when she sold her house and she had to replace the toilets anyway, you know what she put in? The Toto Drake. You see, my mistake there is I thought I was doing my mother a favor. But I've come to learn that when it comes to the people in my life who can call me at 9 o'clock on a Sunday night when there's a problem, I'm really only going to refer them to one of two different brands of toilet. I'm going to refer them to Toto, and I'm going to refer them to Icera. That's it. You know, I dissuade them from ever getting anything else, period. On that same episode, Nathaniel Carry-On said, satisfied with relatively cheap Glacier Bay 1.2 gallon per flush toilet. Glacier Bay is Home Depot's house brand. It's their store brand. I've never used one, never sold one, never bought one. In good conscience, I can't say anything bad about it. However, I will refer you to my previous story as to what happened when I got my mom a generic store brand toilet. It was great at first, but over the course of several years, it caused me a bunch of minor headaches, which added up to a major one. On my episode, How to Pick the Best Toto Drake, Mark J asks, hi, thanks for the information you provided in this video. Knowing manufacturers constantly improve their product at this time, which two-piece ADA elongated toilet do you recommend? Well, if you're going to stick with Toto, which would always be my first choice, I am going to recommend, at this time today, December 2020, I'm going to recommend the Toto Drake 2 1.28 gallon per flush. It is the most advanced flushing system that Toto has. You could go with the 1.0, but right now, especially in California, if you don't have to go with a 1.0, I would go with the 1.28 because they are essentially the same toilet. It's just a question of how much water they use. Just to recap the features of the Toto Drake 2 for you, you've got the Cyclone Flush. You've got the oversized Trapway underneath. You've got the oversized flush valve. And you've got the Cephion Tech, which what they used to call SanaGloss. Cephion Tech glaze in the bowl and throughout the trap, which makes it very, very, very low maintenance, easy to clean. You don't need to clean it as often. And when you do, it's simple soapy water cleanup. It's nothing too drastic. On that same episode, Luis R. says, Drake 2 is the worst toilet ever. Luis, I don't know your particular situation. You didn't give me any context as to what kind of problem you're having. But in my experience, I always recommend that people think twice before blaming the product. It's popular to blame the product when it's really sometimes an installation issue. For example, I'm going to come to Kohler's defense, which I rarely ever do because I like to pick on Kohler. But I'm going to come to Kohler's defense. I worked in a showroom that had, at the time, it had Kohler's top-end two-piece toilet, the one that was closest Toto Drake 2 competitor in our working restroom. And we had nothing but problems with that toilet getting it to flush. And even the Kohler rep was perplexed, like, this is not right. This is not right. And actually, we uninstalled the toilet, and come to find out, the subcontractor that had laid the tile in the showroom had actually dumped grout down the drain for the toilet. And at that point, you can't really blame the toilet. The toilet's not doing anything wrong. It's the fact that there's basically cement in the drain. You can't do that. So, Louise, I'd love to get more detail from you on what kind of problem you're having and if it's possible for me to help in any way, whether that be through advice or suggesting an alternate product. Let me know if I can help. I want to help. On my Bathroom Basics video on how to pick the best toilet, Phil C. wrote, Dave, thanks for your informative video. I want to replace my 40-year-old plus American Standard toilet with a Toto Drake 2 based on your recommendation. With respect to roughin, it measures 14.5 to the center bolts. It has a 2.5-inch space behind the top of the tank cover right now. Is it possible with that amount of space? My current toilet is a 12-inch roughin. Can you please advise? Thank you and stay safe, Phil. So, Phil, absolutely yes, you are correct. What you've got there is a 12-inch roughin toilet in a 14-inch roughin space. Now, you described that perfectly. Thank you very much. Well, there's a couple options that you have. Of course, there's no problem putting another 12-inch roughin toilet in there. You're just going to have that 2-inch gap at the back of the toilet again. If you want to put a 14-inch roughin Toto that has all the same specs as the Toto Drake 2, what you're going to do is you're going to get yourself the Vespin 2. It's essentially the same exact Toto toilet, except it is a skirted model. It's flush on the sides, which that means, well, one, you can, it's a little easier to keep clean. It's a little nicer look. It's going to cost a little bit more. But if you want your toilet to go all the way back to the wall, you're going to get yourself the Vespin 2, and then you're going to get yourself a 14-inch rough-in kit for the Vespin 2. You see, Toto has this unique Unifit system where you put the rough-in trap down, and then you set the toilet on top of that. But this only works with their skirted toilets. It does not work with their standard exposed trap toilets. So those are two options for you. Get yourself a Toto Drake 2 with confidence, just knowing that there's going to be a gap. Or if you want to close that gap, get yourself the Vespin 2 with a 14-inch Unifit rough-in. Now here's a moment where one of you guys taught me something, and I'll have to try this out and see if it works. But on my episode on how to pick the best Toto Drake, Frank Maturi says, I tell you I love Toto, but was not real happy with the flush on my 15-year-old or so Toto Drake with the old Power Gravity flush until I switched the flapper from the Corky to Fluidmaster adjustable with the holes on the side and a ring you can rotate to adjust how much of the hole is exposed. I'm going to have to look that one up. I know Totos come with Corky or Lavalier flappers, and Toto recommends them, but there was a dramatic increase in the flush power. You are right, the internal mechanism of a Toto toilet is manufactured by Corky or Lavalier. However, oftentimes I've found that, for example, for sure fill valves are universal. You could pull out a Corky, put in a Fluidmaster fill valve. This is the first time I've heard of somebody suggesting an alternate flapper for a Toto toilet, though. That was pretty interesting. Jumping back to the episode, How to Pick the Best Toto Toilet, Jonathan Wynn asks, great video. Any news or experience on the Aquia 4? I'm debating between 1.0 and 1.28. The Legato is also on the table, but I prefer the dual flush system. Thanks. So, Jonathan, the Aquia 4 is as good of a dual flush that any company makes. I say it that way because I'm not personally a fan of the dual flush for a couple of reasons. Number one, just a personal thing, maybe a neuroses or something with me. I don't want to stick my finger in the hole. I want to push the lever. That's just, and I've met a number of customers who have that same sort of aversion. They don't want to do this. They want to push a lever. Maybe it's a traditional mindset. Maybe, I don't know, whatever. But it is, I know that it is up here. Number two, the dual flush. It's rather intuitive. There's a big button for big jobs and a little button for little jobs. But for some reason, people seem to push both buttons. While on paper, you would think the dual flush would save more water, especially when you have guests over. I don't want to potty train my guests. I don't want to say, hey, it's got a dual flush, big button here. I just want the toilet to save water on average throughout the year. So I would prefer a lever-operated toilet with a lower gallon per flush. It's my own personal opinion. Do with that what you will. However, if you're set on dual flush, I couldn't recommend the Aquia series anymore. I mean, that is the best dual flush toilet that I have found to date. And remember, you can follow me across all of social media at Remodel Media and let me know how I can help. Thanks for watching. I hope you got some good information out of that episode. Go ahead and click here for more videos. Go ahead and click here to subscribe. And make sure you check out the description below for relevant links to some of the products that we discussed today. And leave your comments and questions down below because I love answering them. As always, I'll see you in the next one.